Hi, Felina Hansen here to talk about advisory boards. Before I dive in, I want to make a big distinction. An advisory board, I don't want to call it informal because I have certainly formalized the process, but it is different than a board of directors, which are legally bound to a company. Just again, clear distinction here. If you have a company, an incorporated entity, you have to name a president, a vice president, a secretary, a treasurer, et cetera. A board of directors, those are legally bound to the business. In my company, I hold all those positions because I am the sole owner of the business and didn't bring on a formal board of directors. An advisory board is a very good idea for a growing business. And I'm going to talk about the process I went through to put this together, and hopefully it'll be helpful to you. So the three main things we want to talk about here is and what you need to ask yourself is, what experience do I need? What do I want them to do? And number three, how will you compensate them? And I'll just say before I dive into that first one, you don't have to compensate them, but I do recommend it. So in my case, I was looking for folks that had a particular type of background and folks that I had a relationship with. I will tell you, in the past, I've had folks on my advisory board who have come and gone, and that's going to happen. And I'll talk about how to kind of guard against that. But everybody I have on my advisory board now is I believe really committed to the business. So I'll start from bottom to top here in areas of expertise. So Rini Leah-Keikos is an attorney, small business law attorney. And so obviously having her wisdom and expertise on my team is important. I do have separate counsel that does some of our contractual work for us. But Rini is really more just, again, as a broad advisor. And specifically, the project that I had her do this year in 2019 is help transition us over to a benefit corporation. So she did all the research and processing on that. Jolene McDonough, I've known for over 8 years. She was early on in the HeraHub concept helping us, and she has an expertise in operations. Dominique Molina has an expertise in taxes. She's a CPA. Always helpful to have someone like that on your advisory board. And then Dr. Sylvia Ma has an expertise in strategy. So these individuals, I'm asking for them to contribute their expertise. And these are the major areas where I felt like I needed help. So question number two, what do you want them to do? Be very specific. So I have a contract with each of my advisors that clearly articulates not only what I'm asking of them, but also what I'm giving them in return. So in general, I ask of my advisors to have 2 in-person strategy meetings per year. No more than 4 hours each, 1 special project per year. And that is can be anything from, like I said, the benefit corporation that Rini set up for us, and then intermittent phone call requests for information. And so that is clearly outlined in the agreement with them. And then in return, I give them a very small, under a percentage, equity stake ownership in my company each year that they serve on the advisory board. There is also a vesting clause in there to guard against if somebody decides to just kind of disappear. They can't circle back around years later and say, I own part of the company. They would have had to execute those shares in order to trigger the ownership of those shares. So That's an important piece to work with your attorney on as you build this contract, because if somebody doesn't follow through, you don't want them still owning a percentage of your company. So, there's certainly some folks out there that may decide that they, are happy to be on your advisory board. They like what you're doing. They believe in you, of course, as I believe my advisors do too. But I wanted to give an extra layer of incentive to them, to feel like they're part of the business, and follow through and stay with the business, so they can watch us grow and be part of that success and growth. I will also say Sylvia Ma is an actual investor in the business as well. So in addition to her initial investment in the business, she continues to earn a little bit of the company every year as she continues to stay on our advisory board. As always, I recommend you consult with an attorney to draft a document like this. Again, it's really important that you're clear in that contract. What do you want? What are you asking of them to do? And what are you going to give them in return? Always, always, always be specific. People really appreciate that. The type of people you're probably reaching out to are, I'm sure, very busy. And the clearer you can be on what your expectations are, what you need from them, the more likely they will hopefully say yes.